You're sitting at a red light on a Wednesday morning, hands on the steering wheel of your car, half listening to a podcast you're not really absorbing. The payment notification hits your phone. $647 has been automatically withdrawn for your car loan. You barely register it anymore. It's been happening every month for 3 years. It's just normal. Part of the cost of being an adult, like rent or insurance, everyone has a car payment, right? But then something catches your eye. An older sedan pulls up next to you. Maybe 10 years old, nothing special, but it runs. And you have this brief, intrusive thought, that person probably doesn't have a car payment. They're keeping $647 every month that you're sending to a bank. Over a year. That's $7,764 they're keeping that you're not. And then the light changes, the thought disappears, and you drive to work in your nicer, newer car, pushing away the uncomfortable math that almost surfaced. But somewhere in the back of your mind, a question lingers: what's that payment actually costing you? My name is William, and I've spent years analyzing the financial architecture of middle-class life, specifically the decisions that look reasonable in isolation but devastate wealth accumulation over decades. If you've normalized your car payment as just another bill, or if you've upgraded vehicles every few years thinking it's standard financial behavior, what I'm about to show you will reframe how you see every car decision for the rest of your life. Here's the cultural narrative we've all absorbed. Cars are necessities, and necessities cost money. You need reliable transportation. You work hard. You deserve something nice to drive. The payment is manageable. It's just $600 or $700 monthly. That's how much some people spend on dining out. And besides, everyone finances cars now. Having a car payment is normal. It's how middle-class people own vehicles. This narrative is so embedded that most people never question it. The car payment becomes invisible, just part of your monthly overhead, like your phone bill or electricity. But here's the structural reality nobody explains until you've already signed. A car payment isn't a bill, it's a wealth suppression mechanism. It's a systematic transfer of capital from your future financial freedom to current consumption of a depreciating asset. And the mathematics of what this costs you over a lifetime isn't just significant, it's retirement destroying. Most people will finance 5 to 8 vehicles over their working life, paying interest and depreciation on each one, and never accumulate meaningful wealth. Not because they don't earn enough, but because they're perpetually sending hundreds of dollars monthly to finance the single worst asset class you can purchase. Let me show you what I mean. Cars depreciate faster than almost anything you can buy. The moment you drive a new vehicle off the dealership lot, it loses 10 to 15% of its value instantly. In the first year, it loses roughly 20 to 25% total. By year 3, most vehicles have lost 40 to 50% of their original value. You're not buying an asset that holds value, you're buying a consumption good that immediately starts deteriorating. And yet, we finance these depreciating purchases with debt that has interest attached, which means we're paying more than the purchase price for something that's worth less every month we own it. The mathematics is designed to destroy wealth. Let me show you exactly what this looks like with specific numbers, because seeing the full cost makes it impossible to unsee. Consider someone named Rachel. She's 29, earns $72,000 annually, and just financed a new crossover SUV. Purchase price, $42,000. She put $3,000 down and financed $39,000 at 7.5% interest over 72 months. Her monthly payment is $647. This feels manageable to her. It's less than 9% of her take-home pay, and the dealership told her that's well within normal parameters. But let's trace what this actually costs. Over 72 months, she'll pay $46,584 in total payments. That's $7,584 in interest alone, money that vanishes into the bank's profit, but interest is just the beginning. Sales tax on a $42,000 vehicle in an average state is roughly $2,900, gone immediately. Registration and fees, $450. That's $50,434 she'll have paid just to finance the vehicle for 6 years. Now add insurance. New vehicles cost significantly more to insure than older ones because replacement cost is higher. Her full coverage insurance runs $185 monthly, $2,220 annually. Over 6 years, that's $13,320 in insurance costs. Add gas, routine maintenance, and one major repair over 6 years, let's say $8,500 total. Her all-in cost of ownership over 6 years, $72,254. At year 6, that $42,000 vehicle is worth approximately $18,000 if she's lucky and maintains it well. She's paid $72,254 to own an asset worth $18,000. She spent $54,254 on transportation over 6 years, $9,042 annually, or $753 monthly. And here's the thing. At the end of those 6 years, she still needs a car. So what does she do? She trades it in, rolls any remaining depreciation into a new loan, and starts the cycle again. She's on a hamster wheel of perpetual car payments, perpetually financing depreciation. Now, let me show you the alternative timeline with different decisions. Same Rachel, same budget, but different strategy. Instead of buying a $42,000 new vehicle, she buys a 3-year-old certified pre-owned version of the same model. Purchase price: $26,000. The previous owner absorbed the massive first 3 years depreciation. She puts the same $3,000 down and finances $23,000 at 8.5% interest, slightly higher rate for used, but much smaller principal. Her monthly payment is $397 over 60 months. Over 5 years, she'll pay $23,820, total $820 in interest. Add sales tax, $1,820, registration, $450, total paid, $26,090. Insurance on the used vehicle, $145 monthly because replacement cost is lower, $8,700 over 5 years. Gas and maintenance, roughly the same as new, maybe $9,000. Total cost of ownership over 5 years, $43,790. At year 5, the vehicle is 8 years old and worth approximately $12,000. She's paid $43,790 to own an asset worth $12,000. She spent $31,790 on transportation over 5 years, $6,358 annually, or $530 monthly. Compare that to the new car scenario, $753 monthly versus $530 monthly. She's saving $223 monthly by buying 3-year-old instead of new. But here's where it compounds. That $223 monthly difference over 5 years, if invested at 8%, average annual returns becomes approximately $16,400. She has $16,400 more wealth by making one different decision about how old the car should be when she buys it. Same transportation function, dramatically different financial outcome. And this is just one vehicle cycle. She'll repeat this decision multiple times over her working life. Now let me show you the truly devastating number, the lifetime opportunity cost. Rachel is 29. She'll drive vehicles until she's 70. That's 41 years. If she follows the new car every 6 years pattern, she'll purchase roughly 7 new vehicles over that period, spending approximately $500,000 in total, accounting for inflation and rising vehicle prices. If instead she follows the 3-year-old used every 6 years pattern, she'll spend approximately $310,000 over the same period. The difference is $190,000 in direct savings. But that's not the real cost. The real cost is what happens if she invests the monthly difference between the two strategies. New car strategy averages $753 monthly in transportation costs. Used car strategy averages $530 monthly. Difference: $223 monthly. If she invests $223 monthly from age 29 to age 70, 41 years at 8% average annual returns, that compounds to approximately $867,000. Her decision to buy new cars instead of 3-year-old cars didn't just cost her $190,000 in direct expenses. It cost her $867,000 in investment account wealth she never built. That car payment, that normalized monthly obligation that everyone has just stole her financial independence, the $647 monthly payment isn't buying transportation. It's preventing retirement. Here's the psychological mechanism that enables this. We think of cars as assets because they have resale value, because we list them on our net worth statements, because they're expensive and we own them. But a car is not an asset in any meaningful sense. An asset generates income or appreciates. A car does neither. It consumes money, fuel, insurance, maintenance, depreciation while sitting in your driveway losing value. A car is a tool, like a laptop or a refrigerator. You need it to function in modern society, but you wouldn't finance a refrigerator for 6 years at 7.5% interest. You wouldn't buy a new laptop every 3 years when your current one works fine. We've been psychologically conditioned to treat cars differently than other tools because car manufacturers and lenders have spent billions on marketing to make vehicle ownership an identity issue rather than a transportation decision. The car you drive supposedly says something about you, about your success, your taste, your status, your responsibility as a parent. Driving an older car, we're told, is risky, embarrassing, or indicative of failure to achieve. This is the marketing message, and it's internalized deeply. So people making $75,000 annually finance $45,000 vehicles to signal success they haven't actually achieved. They're performing prosperity through consumption, financing the performance with debt, and wondering why they can't get ahead financially. Let me show you what Rachel's financial life looks like in each scenario at age 50, 21 years into her driving career. In the new car timeline, she's purchased 4 new vehicles by this point. She currently has a car payment of $697 on her current vehicle, and she has approximately $140,000 in retirement savings because she's been investing 8% of her income through her 401k, but the car payments have consumed capital that could have been invested. In the used car timeline, she's purchased 3 certified pre-owned vehicles. She currently has a car payment of $412 on her current vehicle, and she's been investing the $223 monthly difference for 21 years. That $223 monthly, compounded at 8%, is now worth approximately $150,000, in addition to her $140,000 401k. Total invested assets, $290,000. Same person, same income, different car buying strategy. The used car Rachel has over double the net worth purely because she bought 3-year-old vehicles instead of new ones. At 50, used car Rachel can afford to reduce her work hours, take career risks, and weather layoffs. New car Rachel is locked into full-time mandatory employment because she has no buffer. The car payments over 21 years didn't just cost her $150,000 in investable assets, they cost her optionality and freedom. Here's the identity shift required to break this pattern. You have to emotionally divorce yourself from your vehicle. The car cannot be an extension of your self-worth or identity. It has to be pure function. It gets you from point A to point B reliably and safely, period. Everything beyond that is consumption masquerading as necessity. This is psychologically demanding because we're socially conditioned to judge ourselves and others by vehicle quality. You pull into work parking lots and unconsciously calibrate where you fit in the hierarchy based on what you drive. Your parents might ask why you're still driving that old thing when you're doing so well in your career. Your peers upgrade regularly and expect you to match. The social pressure to perform through vehicle choice is intense, but this is exactly where wealth is lost. The person who buys the 3-year-old Accord and drives it for 12 years while investing the difference, they look less successful than their peer who leases a new luxury sedan every 3 years. But by age 60, the first person has $800,000 invested, and the second person has a current lease payment and minimal savings. The person who looked successful was performing successfully. The person who looked average was building actual wealth. You have to be comfortable with the gap between how much you could spend on a car and how much you choose to spend. That gap, that intentional difference between what you can afford and what you actually buy, is where wealth lives. Most people have zero gap. They buy the most car they can qualify for, finance it for the longest term available to make the payment fit their budget, and perpetually live at the edge of their capacity. The person building wealth maintains a large gap and invests the difference. Let me tell you about someone who figured this out. He's an engineer I know who makes $140,000 annually. His colleagues drive luxury SUVs and premium sedans, Audis, BMWs, Teslas. Total vehicle values in that parking lot probably average $65,000. He drives a 2015 Honda Civic he bought for $11,000 with 78,000 miles on it. It runs perfectly. It's reliable, safe, efficient. His colleagues think it's strange. Someone once asked him if he was having financial problems, because surely someone at his level should be driving something nicer. His response, "I'm not having financial problems, I'm building wealth. That's why I'm driving this." He's been investing the difference between what he could spend on a vehicle and what he actually spent for 8 years now. His investment accounts have grown to $340,000. His colleagues have current car payments and modest savings. He's on track to retire at 52. They'll work until 67 if they're lucky. The difference isn't income they earn similar amounts. The difference is that he refused to convert income into depreciating assets financed with debt. He kept the capital, invested it, and let it compound. His car is a tool that he's optimizing for low cost. Their cars are status symbols, they're optimizing for perception. His strategy builds wealth, theirs prevents it. Here's the warning most people need. When your car is finally paid off, don't celebrate by buying a new car. That's the trap. You spend 5 or 6 years making payments, you finally pay it off, and you immediately think, I can afford a new one now, and you restart the cycle. You never experience the years of no car payment that would allow you to invest that monthly amount and actually build wealth. The optimal strategy is to drive the paid-off vehicle for as many additional years as possible while investing what you used to send to the bank. If your payment was $650 monthly and you pay off the car, immediately redirect that $650 to automatic investment contributions. Pretend you still have the payment you've been living without that money for years, so it's not like you need it now. Let that car run for another 5 or 6 years with minimal payment-free years while you invest $650 monthly. That's when you build the investment account that creates actual security. But most people don't do this. They drive the paid-off car for maybe 18 months, then get antsy for an upgrade, trade it in, and lock themselves into another 5 years of payments. They spend 30 or 40 years of their working life perpetually having a car payment, never experiencing the financial freedom of payment-free vehicle ownership combined with aggressive investing. Here's the framework I want you to implement. First, if you currently have a car payment on a vehicle worth less than what you owe, you're underwater. This is called negative equity, and it's dangerous. Your priority is to pay down that loan until you have positive equity so you have options. Don't roll negative equity into a new loan that's compounding your mistake. Second, when you pay off your current vehicle, keep it as long as it's mechanically sound. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Subaru, these brands routinely run 200,000 plus miles with proper maintenance. Don't let boredom or social pressure convince you to upgrade prematurely. Every year you drive a paid-off car is a year you're beating the wealth suppression mechanism. Third, when you do eventually need to replace the vehicle, buy 3 to 5 years old with under 60,000 miles. Let someone else absorb the massive initial depreciation. You get a modern, safe, reliable vehicle with 70% of its lifespan, remaining for 50 to 60% of its original cost. That's the arbitrage window. Fourth, pay cash if at all possible. If you must finance, put at least 20% down, finance for no more than 48 months, and ensure the payment is under 10% of your gross monthly income. If you can't meet all three of those criteria, you're buying too many cars. The math is telling you to downgrade. Listen to the math. Fifth, and this is critical, automate the investment of what you would have spent on a larger car payment. If you can afford $700 monthly, but you've structured your purchase so your payment is only $425, automatically invest that $275 difference. Don't let it get absorbed into your lifestyle. That difference, invested consistently, is what compounds into financial freedom. The car payment is normalized in American culture to the point where not having one seems strange or irresponsible. We've been conditioned to believe that financing vehicles is just how it's done, that everyone does it, that it's financially neutral. But it's not neutral. It's actively destructive to wealth accumulation. The average American will pay $450,000 to $600,000 on vehicles over their working life. Purchase prices, interest, insurance, maintenance. If even half of that could be reduced through smarter buying decisions and the savings invested, we're talking about retirement account differences of $500,000 to $800,000 for a typical middle-class worker. That's not a rounding error. That's the difference between retiring at 67 with minimal savings and retiring at 58 with financial security. The car payment isn't just another bill, it's the decision that determines whether you ever stop working. And most people never do the math. They just accept the payment as normal, make it for decades, and wonder why they're not building wealth despite earning good money. You can break this pattern. You can be the person who drives the 7-year-old car and invests the difference. You'll face social pressure. Your car won't be as nice as your peers, but your investment accounts will be growing while theirs stagnate. Your optionality will be expanding while theirs contracts. Your retirement date will be approaching while theirs remains perpetually distant. The car is a tool. Tools should be acquired as cheaply as possible while still fulfilling their function. Every dollar you spend beyond that minimum functional threshold is a dollar that's not compounding in your investment accounts. Every month you carry a car payment is a month you're not building wealth. Your future self, the one who's either financially independent or still working because they have to, is being determined by how you handle vehicle purchases over the next 20 years. The $647 monthly payment doesn't look like much compared to your mortgage or your overall budget. But compounded over a lifetime, it's the difference between freedom and continued dependence on employment. The next time you're tempted to upgrade, calculate what investing that payment would become over 10 years. Make the trade-off conscious. You're not just buying a nicer car, you're selling a specific amount of future financial freedom. Make sure that trade is worth it. Most of the time, it isn't. The car payment is worse than you think, not because it's expensive in isolation, but because it's perpetual, normalized, and destroys wealth through compounding loss of investment opportunity. Break the cycle. Buy used, drive it until it dies. Invest the difference. Your future self, the one with options instead of obligations, is counting on you to see through the cultural mythology around vehicles and make decisions based on math instead of marketing. The payment feels normal. That doesn't make it optimal. Choose optimization over normalization. Your freedom lives in that gap.